What up, people? You are live and direct on Petty Sports, brought to you by Kingz Broadcasting Studios. It's your boy, Famous Facts Feez. We here live. You know I'm always excited to be in front of y'all. I got my main man, Jansen, next to me. Holla at him.
What's up? Happy to be here, man. Excited. Love the atmosphere. Happy to be on the show, man.
Yes, sir. This is the second edition of the Black History Month show. You know, we always got to highlight a little something for y'all. We got a nice lineup. I know y'all waiting to see what we got to say about the Super Bowl. Little I told you so's, little woes, everything else going on. We got to talk about the NFL honors. You know, they gave away all the awards. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of player movement possibly that's happening. It's a little bit popping in the NBA. So, man, we got an action-packed show. Just like I tell you every week, need to get your popcorn ready because it's about to be real. Say, man, but before we get started, I would be remiss if I started the show today without wishing a happy birthday to Mama Sharper, as everyone in Pettyland calls her, to my mom, Lucille. Happy 74th birthday. If y'all look on my page, y'all will see what's up. I made the post. Make sure everybody knew what was up. It's been a great day. Gotta pay homage to the one that started it.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah, man. You know, man, how everything been going with you before we jump into this thing, Jansen?
It's going good, man. I've been exercising a little bit more, so I'm starting off on the right foot, getting a little morning jog going. Hopefully the weight's next. Get some of this weight off of me.
He getting the workouts in. Like, we were supposed to have a boxing match.
Yeah, I deduct that one. You feel me? I was about that life. More talking than action, you feel me?
We're going to get that back into Pettyland one time. It's going to be a Petty Sports boxing match. We're going to do a little sparring.
Pay-per-view.
Y'all pay to watch Floyd. Y'all can't pay to watch me fight.
Oh, my God.
He don't be fighting real fighters either. It's all good, man. Yo, we had some Black History facts to jump in with, but you see, we ain't got our girl Lele in here. She did actually chime in with a little something for us, though. So I'm going to give you the Black History sports facts that we have for you that she was going to jump on. We'll start off with my man Tiger Woods, the first and youngest African-American to win the Masters tournament. Definitely major moment. We have to pay homage and recognize that.
Absolutely.
Serena Williams for becoming the first African-American woman to win a Grand Slam singles, or the second one, actually. But, I mean, she's got 23, going for number 24. She's cooking right now in the Australian Open with the cat suits that we also love to watch. Serena's a killer, and we definitely got to show her love. Hopefully she'll get number 24. We'll talk deeper into the Australian Open next week when they get into the later rounds. We don't generally jump into it when it's this early. They're in their first stages. So normally everybody who's expected to win wins this early. So definitely next week we'll cover that in depth. And the next one we got is Simone Biles. She holds the record for the most world championships for any woman. So, I mean, that's super major. I mean, we all witnessed the Olympics. We were hoping to see her do her thing last year in the Olympics. Hopefully they actually still have them this summer, because that's still up in the air as to whether or not they're even going to do it this year.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, their window is so small for the Olympics. It's like, man, pushing them back, that's like a killer to their careers. They only get once every 4 years for the Olympics. Like, damn, you keep pushing it back. But, man, big ups to Simone, though.
Absolutely, man. All the names you named there, just greatness. That's why she had the greatness. Glad you recognized that and said it on the show today, man.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, but I mean, we did have one funny one, but it's not sports related. I'm just not going to read that.
Okay.
I can't do it. I can't do it.
We'll go with that.
It was funny, though. It's just not. I can't do it. So, man, everybody got together Sunday night. Probably Sunday afternoon. I know we cranked up Sunday around about 3 o'clock, well before the game started. Super Bowl 55 ended in a very, very familiar fashion. Tom Brady won again. We've seen it 7 times now. The surprise was how well the Bucs defense was actually able to defend that high-powered Chiefs offense. So how is Tampa's game plan so different from what they did in Week 12 to come out and just straight embarrass Kansas City in the Super Bowl on the biggest stage?
Well, that Tampa shell, too, that they gave them issues. And they were able to get pressure up front. They made Mahomes uncomfortable. Shaq Barrett, and we talked about him, Feez, on previous shows. He needed to earn his money. This was a money game for him. You know, when you play well in the Super Bowl, and he's been trending, he played well against the Packers, he needed to earn his money. That's what he did. Ndamukong Suh, he turned the clock back. So the consistent pressure by them up front is what led to this victory. Also, Devin White, he was all over the place. Covering skills were on point. Getting to the quarterback, just getting everywhere, man. Just seeing him fly to the ball, he was comfortable. We have to credit Todd Bowles. He's had a heck of a playoff run with these quarterbacks they beat. Drew Brees, Aaron Rodgers, and now Mahomes. Perfect. I'm shocked. I'm still shocked. 0-3 in the red zone. The one thing the Chiefs do well is they convert on third down and they execute when they get in the red zone. They weren't able to do that. So Todd Bowles' message and encouraging and motivating their guys on Sunday was impressive. It was genius. That's what it was. And that's going to put him, Feez, sorry to cut you off, in that discussion to be a head coach in 2022. I'm already going to say that because that's what it looks like to me.
Yeah, I mean, definitely he's going to be in the discussion. But just as far as what we actually saw in Week 12 and the adjustments that were made, it was like a completely different team. I mean, when Kansas City played at Tampa, I mean, they played in the same stadium when they played them in Week 12, so it was a legit rematch in the same spot. Clyde Edwards-Helaire went for 161 yards rushing in that first matchup, and Tyreek Hill went for over 200 yards in the first quarter. I mean, they were down 17-0 at halftime, and it looked like Kansas City was just going to beat them by 100, and Tampa was way overmatched. Granted, Tampa did come back in that game to lose by only 3 points. It was 27-24 because they couldn't get them off the field at the end of the game. So it did seem like they made some adjustments in the second half that clearly it carried all the way over. But missing those 2 tackles, just like we discussed last week, I told you he was going to be under the same type of duress that he was that we watched Aaron Rodgers under just 2 weeks prior. They couldn't block the D-line. I mean, they came with the perfect formula. You rush with your front four, get plenty of pressure, keep 7 back in coverage. They stayed in the cover 2. There was too many DBs back there with all that pressure. Pat Mahomes had no time to throw the ball, and nobody was open. I mean, all things being considered, Pat actually played a pretty good game, seeing as how he's getting beat up the entire game. So he made quite a few throws that I was like, oh my God, how did that ball make it to the receiver? And then they dropped him. I mean, it's sad, really. I mean, I could actually go as far as to say Kansas City's skill position players choked.
I agree with you to an extent, but I think Mahomes, those interception plays, and yes, he was under pressure all game long, but I got to hold him accountable too. I didn't think he played well. I thought they came into the game a little overconfident. I thought Tampa Bay did their homework all week long. Film. I think in those film sessions, they looked at it and was like, you know what? We need to execute. We need to execute. I think Tom Brady even probably gave them a pregame speech. Like, don't get overwhelmed. They're not as good as you think. I think Tampa Bay, they didn't have that respect. They didn't show so much respect to Kansas City. They just went out there and played football. They were like, look, they gave us their best punch in that game you were referring to, the first matchup.
Yeah, in Week 12.
In Week 12. This matchup, we're going to take what we did in the second half, like you said, and we're going to apply that pressure all game long. They were the tougher team. And one thing we can learn is that offensive line does matter. You don't have your left tackle. There's a reason they get paid big bucks.
He's missing both tackles.
Yeah. And that was huge. They didn't make a big enough deal about it in the media, but that was big.
Was everybody assumed that Pat Mahomes was going to be able to just overcome anything because they had all these track stars out there on the outside? But it's like, man, you got to have time to get it to them. You can't run deep routes if your quarterback is under duress as soon as you snap the ball.
Yeah, and I thought Andy Reid as well, too. He wasn't as creative with the play calling. We had to put it on him, too. Andy Reid, that was your third Super Bowl that you were in. They got a little too pass happy for me. I don't think they ran the football enough. I know they're playing from behind, but they didn't run the football enough.
They didn't
Tampa
run the football at all.
Yeah, Tampa Bay knew what was coming.
I mean,
They put their ears back and got after Mahomes.
49 pass plays and 17 rushes. And if you really want to get into what the numbers were, it was actually 54 pass plays because 5 of those rushing attempts were Pat Mahomes runs where he just took off and scrambled because nobody was open and there was a lane to run in. Those were designed pass plays also. So, I mean, they really only actually called 12 run plays the entire game. You went for 161 yards rushing the first time you played them, and somehow you figured that this time you was going to get away with throwing the whole game. It didn't work the entire game last time you played them. And why? How would you just go away from the run? Like they didn't even try to run. They passed on every possession. They made the game really easy. I mean, I don't know if Pat Mahomes needed to check out of some plays or maybe he checked out of some runs because of the sets that he was looking at. But as a whole, they just got dominated on both sides of the ball. I mean, we watched Tampa Bay's offense just look unstoppable. So, I mean, the fact that they put up 31 points is like, man, yeah, they blew them out. If Kansas City's receivers had actually converted these plays, say, if Tyreek Hill had caught that pass, which it was still 0-0 at that point, when Pat Mahomes scrambled out to the left, this was in the first quarter. He hit Tyreek Hill in his face with the ball, and he dropped it. It could have been 7-0. It only ended up being 3-0. They turned around from there. Then Brady's pass, that's when his ball got tipped and intercepted, and they got the penalty for holding, which was a legit call, which for all the Kansas City people, let me just tell y'all, nobody cares about you crying about the officiating. They showed every call in slow motion. It was legit. Your DBs could not cover their wide receivers, and every time they got beat out of a break, they grabbed them. They were 10, 15 yards downfield. It's like, no, it's not the 5-yard bump and run thing. They're all the way deep into their breaks. Y'all are just grabbing. Because, you know, if you didn't grab them, it'd have left you. And now your fans are crying about the calls. The calls were legit. That was definitely a pass interference. So then you turn around from there. You get the 4th and 5 when Tampa's getting ready to kick. They did kick. They kicked the field goal, made the field goal. You had 3 players line up in the neutral zone. How is that the referee's fault? Your team is undisciplined. Like, it's a very common theme for Kansas City to have pre-snap penalties just lining up wrong, their formations and everything. Like, that's just ridiculous. You're a Super Bowl team. You won the Super Bowl last year, and y'all can't even get lined up right and then have the audacity to be complaining about calls? How about you get behind the line? What were you thinking? You blew so many opportunities. So you turn around from that. Then Brady throws a touchdown to Gronk when he got like 30 minutes to sit in the pocket before he threw the ball. Because in addition to the fact that you didn't block for Pat Mahomes, you gave Tom Brady all day. He didn't have to be mobile. You wasn't blitzing him anyway. Nobody got back there. He was sitting back there in the pocket just chilling. So he throws this touchdown. Then Kansas City gets the ball back. It's 14-3. You have a 5-minute long drive to eat up the rest of the first half, and it ends in a field goal.
Yeah, that's the thing, Feez. People always got excuses lined up, but this was a blowout. This wasn't a close game. This wasn't an exciting Super Bowl. And for people to point out a couple calls and try to play that narrative, it's irresponsible. Because when you look at the reality of the situation, Kansas City's offense, they need to be held accountable. They did nothing. I didn't think the defense was going to be great for Kansas City. I didn't think they would get a couple more sacks. But the offense was awful. In 2021, you can't have 9 points and win a football game. It comes down to that. Blame Andy Reid. Do not blame the play. Do not blame the refs. This call, that call. It wasn't one specific play that just, since the refs called this or they missed a call, all of a sudden the game's over.
Yeah, like it wasn't a Saints-Rams blown PI call. Definitely was none of that. I mean, you could definitely even blame Andy Reid for the ensuing drive after they blew their long drive and ate up the clock and only came out with a field goal to go down 14-6. You gave Tampa the ball back and called consecutive timeouts on first and second down. Brady had the ball with 1 minute left, and you called timeout on first and second. So 3rd and 2, they get a first down. Then Brady goes and throws a bomb with 25 seconds left, and it's a pass interference call because the DB grabbed Mike Evans' foot because he was burnt. And they're crying about that. Like, oh, that wasn't pass interference. He tripped over his own foot. Like, no, he did not. That man reached out, got the back of his foot, pushed it into the turf, and tripped him. Like, it was clear as day. They showed it on the replay from all angles. It was pass interference. Then you turn around on 1st and goal after they moved the ball up even more, and Honey Badger grabbed Mike Evans. Like, he ran directly into him in the end zone. They were about a yard deep in the end zone. It was 1st and goal from the 9. So a yard deep in the end zone, that's 10 yards deep. You can't touch him. You ran into him and then had the audacity of you running through the end zone like, what? I didn't do anything. It's pass interference. It's like, bro, these are simple calls. You made the game. These were very, very, very easy calls. It's undisciplined football. So then you turn around, he throws a touchdown to Antonio Brown. Now it's 21-6 at halftime. So now you've dug yourself quite a hole. We've seen this a few times, and we've only seen it dug out of once. So we come back out for the second half. Kansas City decided, like, oh, we're going to run the ball. Like, oh, you found out you had a running game? First drive, they actually gave the ball to Edwards-Helaire 3 times for 39 yards. Like, bro, it's working. Run the football. But they kept calling pass plays, came out of that with a field goal. So now it's 28-9 with 7 minutes and 45 seconds left in the game. That score should sound very familiar to you for one reason. Falcons fans, close your ears. It was 28-9 with 7 minutes and 45 seconds left to go in the game. That is the exact same score we had at Super Bowl 51 at the end of the 3rd quarter. Tampa Bay, from that point forward, proceeded to run the ball for the rest of the game. They had 28 plays in the second half, and they ran 18 of them were rushes. They scrapped the passing. Brady looked at this squad, was like, yo, we already won the game. I don't need to throw the ball. Don't nobody care about these stats. We gonna collect this trophy. Run the football. They ran the air out of that thing. That's how you finish. And they did it with way more time left on the clock. They put up 3 more points. It was like, oh, no, like, we ain't passing. They passed a few balls on a couple of 3rd downs just to try to keep the drive alive. But they ran the ball for the rest of the game for the better part of the 3rd quarter, all of the 4th quarter. It's like, we're not giving you enough time to come back in this game.
Absolutely. I agree with you. And it's crazy. Kansas City's offense, 3 points in the second half. Are you kidding me? There's really no complaining when you look at the stat sheet. And credit Tampa Bay, credit Byron Leftwich, the offensive coordinator, who, by the way, should be up for a head coaching job next year as well, too. They were balanced. They were balanced, and they were, most importantly, confident. Leonard Fournette, he showed everybody why he was the 4th pick in the draft in 2017. Catching passes out of the backfield, run the football well, 16 carries, 89 yards. He played well. Kansas City, they didn't run the football enough. Like you said, Andy Reid should know better because it didn't work for him in the past when he would just be so pass happy and abandon the run. They were very vanilla on offense. Very vanilla and disappointing.
Extremely. Like, they really thought they were just going to line up and just throw the ball every play.
Yeah, Kansas City, they had too much confidence. I don't think they were prepared. They didn't do the film work.
And, I mean, they were fortunate that they only gave up 31 points. Yeah. The only reason that they stopped scoring at 31 is because they had the foresight to just run the clock out. Like, hey, we won the game. We don't need to keep our foot on the gas pedal. If Kansas City converted any of these drives, it's very well likely Tampa Bay would have put up 45, 50 points in this game. They were comfortably scoring. Everything they did looked like when you can't stop the run, the play action works. Brady was on the money. I mean, he was 21 of 29. In the first half, he was 80% for his completion percentage. I mean, that's absurd. That's never been done before. First half of a Super Bowl game, 80% with 3 touchdowns. Like, he completely picked them apart. The defense destroyed them. It's like both sides of the ball were working harmoniously. Kansas City ran into a straight-up buzzsaw.
Absolutely. We've seen Tom Brady's culture on display. I think he calmed these guys down. He took the respect factor out of it. So let's just go play football. It's another day. It's another day, and for him, it's another ring. That's number 7. He's going to go look for number 8 next year.
So, man, speaking of number 7, what does a 7th Super Bowl win do for Tom Brady's legacy?
Well, if we're talking about just the NFL, he's clearly the best quarterback ever, clearly probably the best football player ever. That's what it does for his legacy. When I think of Tom Brady now, and I made a video about this, I'm thinking about Bill Russell, a true champion. He had 11 rings. We'll see. Maybe Brady I don't think he'll get 11, but it looks like 7 and counting, right? So when you look at Tom Brady coming to the NFC, winning a championship at the age where he's at, it puts pressure on other quarterbacks to win. That's what I think it does. And even the success Mahomes had this early in his career, it puts pressure on quarterbacks. Tom Brady's showing everybody that leadership matters. And Tom Brady is a natural-born leader. This Tampa Bay team wasn't in the playoffs since 2007. All of a sudden, he comes to the NFC, comes to the NFC South, and they start winning. The running game works. The pass rush works. The play calling works. Now everything works. Leadership matters. It doesn't come up on the stat sheet.
He made them boys believe.
Exactly. They believed they could win. They took the respect factor out of it. Kansas City wasn't big, bad Kansas City like they were last year. They punched them in the mouth. They won the line of scrimmage battle up front and ultimately won the game. Kansas City had no answer. There was no adjustments.
None. I mean, man, 7 rings for Brady. Most Super Bowl wins all time. Most Super Bowl appearances all time. Most Super Bowl MVPs all time with 5 now. He's got more Super Bowl MVPs than anybody else has Super Bowl wins. It's ridiculous. It's the only quarterback to win in both the AFC and the NFC. He basically dispels the could he do it outside of New England question with this one, because clearly he just showed that he can. He separates his greatness from Bill Belichick, because everybody was like, hey, which was it? Was it more Brady or more Belichick? So now it's probably going to slightly unfairly go all the way to Brady, which is not accurate. I'm going to give at least 60% of it to Brady. I will go 60-40 Brady. I think that's a healthy percentage more for him than it is Belichick. But when I got like Belichick didn't have anything to do with that. Like to just say it was all Brady that's extra ridiculous too. But what he also did with this, completely closed the door on the GOAT conversation. He already was the GOAT with 6. With this 7th one in this fashion over Pat Mahomes, who everyone was calling a baby GOAT. That basically now he's 2-0 against Pat Mahomes in the Super Bowl, in the playoffs. It was like now, even if Pat goes on and he wins 4 or 5 Super Bowls, like, hey, but you could not beat Tom. He beat you in the Super Bowl and the AFC Championship game. So before we keep rolling on it, y'all know what that sound was. That alarm, 8:24, every Wednesday night. Got to pay homage to the late, great Kobe Bean. Go ahead, count it down for me one time, Jansen. Get it for us.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Kobe!
I tried, guys.
Yes, sir.
To the
Rest
legend,
in peace.
Kobe Bryant.
Kobe Bean. Yeah, you had a longer countdown than we normally do.
Sorry, man. I got to get warmed up. Got to get my rhythm right.
Hey, it's all good. It's all good. So, yeah, man, just back to the whole what he actually submitted with the 7th Super Bowl win. Man, like, in addition to all of those records, this is now the 3rd time in Brady's career he has stopped another quarterback from doing what he did. Back in 2001, when they beat the greatest show on turf, that would have been Kurt Warner's 2nd ring in 3 years, in his first 3 years starting. Lost to Brady. 2014 would have been Russell Wilson's 2nd ring in his first 3 years starting. Lost to Brady. This year would have been Pat Mahomes' 2nd ring in his first 3 years starting. Lost to Brady. So it still stands Brady's the only person who's done it. And everyone else who actually came close to trying to do it, he's the one who stopped him from doing it. Like over 20 years, he's the one stopping him from doing it. From 01 all the way to 2021. Yeah, that's a long time for you to stop anyone from accomplishing what you're doing. And for the question in the chat, Brady already said he's coming back. When he accepted the Super Bowl MVP trophy, he's like, oh yeah, I'll be back. He's definitely coming back because he still has more to prove. If you hadn't noticed, which you may not have actually looked at the schedules for next season, but the NFC South plays the AFC East.
Oh, wow.
And for those who don't know what that means, Tampa Bay plays at New England next year. There's no way Tom Brady was going to leave before he gets to go play at Foxborough against Belichick. Not leaving. He's definitely going to give you at least one more. But the man said he wants to play past 45 now. He's 43. His birthday's sometime in August. So, I mean, he'll be 44 when the season starts? Means he's looking at giving you at least 2 more seasons, if not more. I mean, there's not a whole lot more left for him to prove. He's just looking for things to do now.
Is that a Sunday night football game? You think it's going to be a Sunday night?
It's gotta be. It's either going to be a Sunday night or a Monday night, but they'll probably make that straight Sunday night primetime.
Absolutely.
They haven't released the dates on the schedule, but we do know that they're going to play at Foxborough this time around. Because in 2017, when the two divisions played each other, they played at Tampa.
And we're projecting it on this show. Sunday night football. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers against the New England Patriots. Brady versus Belichick. I love it. I love it. I can't wait for that one.
They'll let some build-up go on it, too. It'll probably be like week 10. It'll be down the road.
I can't wait for all those storylines to come out. What Brady has to say playing Belichick. I want to see what Belichick has to say. You know he's going to downplay it, though.
Oh, I mean, Belichick's not even going to address it. You know, that's how he operates.
I feel him.
He won't address it. Hopefully Cam will still be the quarterback. He won't address it either.
That's a big we'll see to me.
I say hopefully.
Yep.
Pats Nation ain't giving up on him. I know it's a lot of people who have. We want Cam.
Okay.
Just get him some weapons. You know, they talk about up in Seattle, let Russ cook, let Cam cook. Get him some weapons. He needs something. But we're not going to do that today. We're not talking about Cam. So, man, how much does losing in this fashion hurt Pat Mahomes' legacy?
Honestly, I don't think it matters really that much, just because if you want to play the whole Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes thing, he beat you in the AFC Championship game, then he beat you in the Super Bowl. Okay, if you want to play that card or you want to play that narrative. But when I look at Patrick Mahomes, you're looking at a guy, AFC Championship game, Super Bowl victory. He's a champion. He has that ring already. And then he loses the Super Bowl. It's not a big deal. He wasn't a quarterback who was maybe in his 30s or later 30s. This is my last time I can win a championship. He's not in that category. So I don't think it's a huge deal. Kansas City's favored to go back to the Super Bowl, which they should be. And I hope not. I want to see other teams get there. But there's no question this team could go back to the Super Bowl, especially with this same roster. I'm confident that he'll be back, and I'm confident he'll win at least 2 or 3 Super Bowls throughout his career. Now, I don't know about him winning 6 or 7 or this crazy number there's some people in the media talking about, but I don't think it's a big deal. I think he learns from this. I believe him when he said it's going to make him a better player. He's going to eat that humble pie. Him and Andy Reid. No more burgers, but the humble pie, man. They need to look at themselves and say, okay, how can we play better? What could we have done? So I think for the next couple months, they're going to watch that tape, watch that film, watch Tampa Bay celebrate, and think, okay, what can we do to come back? Because this could easily be the Super Bowl next year again. It could be.
I mean, it could be, but you do know that Pat Mahomes just had surgery for his turf toe today. That's going to take months to heal. So he can sit up and watch film, but he can't actually work on a new game plan.
True, but I don't think it'll be a huge deal. I don't think that injury is something where we could be like, okay, this is going to stop them from coming back. It's
not going to stifle him as far as him not being able to come back and actually still be an elite quarterback next season, but it does stifle the process of them trying to get over this hump. This loss is going to burn a sizzle in his spirit. He lost by 22 points. He got destroyed. We haven't seen anything like this since Peyton Manning got destroyed by the Legion of Boom in the 2013 Super Bowl.
I agree with that, but I don't think it stings so much, Feez, just because he won already and just because he's such a young player in this league. I think that motivates him. I don't think it hurts as much as players who just get there. Plenty of the Patriot teams who beat these quarterbacks who were just on the edge of winning their Super Bowl that could have potentially put them in the Hall of Fame. I don't think it burns as much because we expect this Kansas City team to compete for championships in the next 5 years.
You say plenty of quarterbacks have lost to New England in the Super Bowl. Do you know what all of them did after that?
Not much, but
none of them made it back to the Super Bowl.
That's true, but none of them were as good as Patrick Mahomes either.
Yeah, I mean, Russell Wilson has done the same thing that Pat Mahomes has done up to this point in their careers outside of winning a regular season MVP. But you can win the MVPs. We see Aaron Rodgers doing that. Like, Pat is in danger of becoming the next installment of Aaron Rodgers and Russell Wilson, who started off so promising that we projected that they were going to be able to go out on GOAT status, and they've, to this day, yet to make it back to the promised land. Not even make it to a Super Bowl, let alone win another one. It's not a foregone conclusion that they'll just be right back in it next year. They will be one of the best teams in the league, but that does not mean that they're going back to the Super Bowl.
I have to disagree, Feez, and I changed my perspective on it. I was picking the field of the AFC, somebody to overtake Kansas City, but I think there's a big gap there. When I look at Buffalo, I was concerned because they did the same thing. They were getting field goals. I think Kansas City right now on paper, we got to see what some of these moves are looking like with free agents and the draft, but they're clear favorites to me in the AFC. I wouldn't say yet on the Russell Wilson. We'll know if he'll be back because there's a lot of question marks. We're going to talk about that later on the show. And Aaron Rodgers, there's a lot of question marks that we're going to talk about throughout the weeks. But I think this team, there's stability in Kansas City. This is a hiccup. This isn't what people wanted, obviously. Well, at least what Kansas City wanted. But they could get back. I'm confident they'll be in the Super Bowl, if not next year, the year after that.
I wouldn't say I'm confident in it. It is very well possible. But if you look at the gauntlet they got to run through in the AFC, I mean, they're not short of good football teams that are all on their way up. I mean, we look at Buffalo. They have nothing to do but improve. They went 13-3, made it to the AFC Championship game. They're already making adjustments and trying to fix and right the ship so they could perceivably be better and be right back up there. Pittsburgh was a quarterback away from being the favorite over Kansas City to run the table. I mean, they started off 11-0, but we all know Big Ben can't get it done. He is coming back, but he's coming back at a reduced salary, which sounds like Pittsburgh might be shopping for another quarterback. So if they get somebody else to come in there and run that, that'll be a different team and definitely a problem for them. Cleveland is starting to turn a corner. They have the personnel to actually execute what Tampa Bay did. We don't know that they have the coaching or the discipline, but we do know they have a defensive line, and that whole front with their secondary is absolutely good enough to do what Tampa did in the Super Bowl. So, I mean, if they can actually keep their heads screwed on, which is a very big if, but they did make it all the way into the divisional round this year and had a very tight game with Kansas City in the playoffs. So, I mean, it's perceivable that they could make the necessary adjustments, the growth and improvement to be a team that could potentially take Kansas City out next year. Tennessee is still very good. Baltimore has a massive chip on their shoulder after they've underachieved for 2 consecutive seasons. You got the Colts, depending on their quarterback situation. They have a great roster, depending on who is actually going to be running that. And then we got the Miami Dolphins with a very, very good defense. We don't know what Tua is or if they'll decide to go another direction at quarterback. But all of that is to say that the AFC is stacked. It's not just a gimme that Kansas City is going to run through all of these teams, especially the lapses that they take. Kansas City don't show up every week. They just come out. I mean, like, we should be able to turn it on in the second half and beat anybody. But it doesn't work all the time.
But here's my thing about Kansas City. Let's start with Buffalo because Buffalo is dangerous. Now a lot of people are onto this Josh Allen thing. So Josh Allen's going to have to raise his play to another level. Buffalo is going to have more explosive plays early in ball games because they're going to have to get over that hurdle of the Chiefs. Mentally, they're going to have to get over that hurdle. And can Josh Allen take that next step? That's an if. And I know he took some strides this year, and I was proud of him, and I was a big Josh Allen fan, but there's no guarantee he could take that next step. Now, Miami, that's a tricky team. Miami and Cleveland, to me, if they can make a deal somehow, some way to bring in Deshaun Watson, then we got to revisit this conversation, because I think Cleveland, they're lacking in the quarterback play. Baker is good, but good enough to take them past the Chiefs. I don't know about that. Miami is good, but good enough to take them past Buffalo or the Chiefs or Pittsburgh. I don't know about that, but I think either one of those teams, Miami or Cleveland, if they could make a trade, and I'm talking about giving up 3 to 4 first-round picks to get Deshaun Watson, then yes, I could see them beating Kansas City. But I think Kansas City's just above these teams. And Pittsburgh, almost forgot about them. That's a big question mark. Do they trade up and get that franchise quarterback of the future, or do they put their hat in that mix with Deshaun Watson? And I think they're a wild card for that, but I think
they'd have to give up too much for Deshaun Watson, and their team is constructed too good to do that. They don't actually need a quarterback like him. Not to say that he wouldn't be great there. They don't need to give up as many pieces as it would take to get him.
But here's my thing with these teams I named, even Pittsburgh. I go to the offer table and I say this: we'll give you a boatload of draft picks, and the way these GMs be maneuvering stuff, I don't know how far into the draft, 2025 to 2026 you could go, but you give up all those first rounders, you keep that core on defense, and now you have a Super Bowl team. Imagine Watson on Cleveland. That's a perfect team right there. That's perfect.
It wouldn't be anymore after he got there, though.
I just think, though, you front-loaded with all those picks.
You're going to have to give up the picks, plus Baker, and probably Jarvis Landry.
I'm okay with that. I'm actually okay with that. I don't think Jarvis Landry he's good, but I don't think he's that piece where it's like, oh, they lose Jarvis Landry.
He's world been their rock for years.
Yeah.
Even after they brought Odell in, Jarvis is still putting up better numbers.
I think he is good, but I'd rather them give him up than some of those guys on defense flying around the ball, especially a Myles Garrett. That's absolutely not. I would not give him up in the Watson trade. But I'll give up a receiver. I'll give him
going to ask for the kitchen sink. Like they're going to gut the team.
3, 4, 5 first-round picks if that's possible. 5 range of first-round picks.
They're going to want some players.
Well, you don't give up any of those guys on defense, in my opinion.
Well,
or on that offensive line.
I don't see Watson going there. But if we look at the other side of it, I'm baffled at the fact that Tampa is not favored to win it again. I know they are the second favorite, but given the gauntlet that is in the AFC with all of these teams retooling to make another run, it's not like that in the NFC.
You got the Rams. The Rams.
You've got the Saints, no quarterback. We don't know what they're going to do. With Jameis, you're not scared of them. Atlanta, I mean, it's in their division. They can't beat them. Carolina can't beat them. Green Bay, they've got their number because they smash them every time they play them. Seattle, there's sometimey. No one would take Seattle to either go to Tampa or Tampa to go into Seattle. You're taking the Bucs over them. You mentioned the Rams. I think that was the dumbest move. They gave up all those picks for Matt Stafford. And that was just stupid. The Rams are going nowhere.
See, but here's the thing about the Rams. And I'm curious.
Matt Stafford ain't no better than Jared Goff.
I'm curious to see how this plays out. I'm just curious with that. Because Stafford got the number 1 defense now. He got those weapons on offense. He got McVay. We'll see what they could do. Seattle, and we're going to get to Russell Wilson. We'll see what they could do. San Francisco, they could cut Jimmy G and make a move again for Watson. I keep bringing up this Watson thing because some of these teams, monster defenses, monster offensive lines, but they got that question mark at quarterback. You go all in. I know you're talking about players giving up. Well, get rid of the good players who aren't as, I guess, valuable to the team's success, okay? Which is some receivers if you got them.
I mean, that's hard to even determine. San Francisco already let all their wideouts go.
If San Francisco cuts Jimmy G, the cap hit isn't that much. I'm telling you, 4 or 5 first-round picks for Deshaun Watson, if that's the mark. You give it up because you can go to the Super Bowl next year. And San Francisco, they get healthy this year, they're going to be a contender anyways, just like they were when they went to the Super Bowl.
I mean, they were in the Super Bowl just last year.
The Packers will be back.
As it stands, without all of these ifs, with quarterback movement, because you've placed Deshaun Watson on 15 teams in the last 5 minutes.
Yes.
Leave Deshaun Watson where he's at because Houston is not going to trade him because no one is going to give up what they want for him in addition to the cap hit that he's worth. It's just not worth it for any side for them to do that. No one over there is good enough to beat Tampa. They weren't good enough to beat them this year once they got rolling. I mean, they're now going to have a whole offseason to work together, a preseason. They already are, like, they got the chemistry that they were looking for. More than likely, Chris Godwin will be gone because they're going to pay Shaquille Barrett. And when Chris Godwin leaves, Julian Edelman is going to come and take his place because he's clearly leaving New England. So you'll replace Godwin with someone that already is, like, all the way in tune with Brady. It'll just make it even easier because he'll always be open on third down as a safety blanket along with Gronk. The team is going to be even better. Like, Tampa will easily get the number 1 seed in the bye next year in the NFC. They're going to be pushing the, can they go undefeated conversation.
You think so?
I'm not saying that they will go undefeated. I'm saying they'll start off winning a lot of games, and that conversation will make its way to Tampa.
I just think the NFC, I think there's some teams in the NFC. I'm not sleeping on the Rams. I'm not sleeping on Seattle. Seattle, I think they're going to play better, and we're going to get into that Russell Wilson segment, but I think Seattle has a good chance to go to the Super Bowl. I think the Packers have a team to go to the Super Bowl.
How are you still sold on Green Bay? Last year, they got smashed by San Francisco twice. This year, they get smashed by Tampa twice. They have made it a habit of having great years
but they're
and having one team that they cannot beat.
Absolutely, but they're going to be there. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying
They'll
Tampa
be up there to get smacked again.
I'm not saying Tampa Bay isn't going to come out the NFC. It's just no guarantees here. I'm one of those Rams guys too. I love the defense, what they got going on. I want to see how good Stafford is. I do kind of believe that Stafford was on the wrong team. I'm not a Stafford apologist, but I do think they upgraded. Did they give up too much? Yes, but that's a team that has to win. Les Snead is going to be gone, and so is McVay if they don't win. I think they know something, Feez.
That team was 10-6 last year. They're not going to be better than 10 wins next year because Stafford is there. They absolutely will not.
But if they get those 10 wins, a deeper playoff run is all they're asking for. If this team can win late,
they missed the playoffs with their 10 wins.
But they could see maybe.
Oh, no, my bad. They didn't. But still.
Maybe Stafford could be that piece where they're like, okay, longevity-wise, and when I mean longevity-wise, I'm talking about the end of the season into the postseason, could get them over the hump. Now, there's been no evidence that he could win in the playoffs.
Because he's never done it.
But with this defense is going to keep him in a lot of games, so Stafford doesn't have to be perfect. But I think some of the stuff that Golf was doing last year, just handing away, they lost to some bad teams. And the relationship wasn't there with McVay. I think McVay's going to feel comfortable with Stafford. He's a veteran. They both know there's a lot of pressure. So I'm not saying they'll beat Tampa, but they'll give Tampa a run for their money. They can get after the quarterback.
Detroit didn't lose the bad teams. They were 5-11.
They did, but they didn't have the same team. There's more stability with the Rams is what I'm saying. Front office stability.
That doesn't mean that Matt Stafford is geared up to do that.
Well, he didn't have the stability in Detroit.
I guarantee you the Rams will not be any better than they were last year.
The Rams are going to be in the playoffs this year.
They were in the playoffs last year.
They'll be in the playoffs. They'll probably win at least a playoff game. I'm just saying they're going to be up there. They're going to be one of those top 3 or 4 teams in the NFC that you're going to look like they could win the Super Bowl. They got the defense. We'll see how Stafford looks. We'll see how that running game looks.
That's a whole lot of projecting. The teams in the AFC actually are established. You're making up stuff.
The Rams are
not established. They got a new quarterback, and it's not Tom Brady. You can't just say Matt Stafford's going to come in there and change the culture. Who the hell is Matt? He ain't never won nothing.
What I was saying is,
he didn't win nothing at Georgia. He ain't win nothing in Detroit, and he ain't going to win nothing in L.A.
What I'm saying is this. This team is talented. Look at the roster. They are talented. They have the defense already in place. I do think it was a somewhat of an upgrade with the quarterback position. They're going to have a chance to win the NFC. Green Bay, yes, they have failed late in postseasons, but they'll be there. They're going to be there with Aaron Rodgers, 3-time MVP. I'm not saying they'll beat Tampa Bay. I'm just saying
Green Bay to Tampa is like that's the same as Baltimore to Kansas City.
Even the Saints.
Don't care how good they are, they can't beat them.
Even the Saints. Will the Saints trade up and get a quarterback?
No.
Will Jameis Winston be that guy?
The Saints are in cap hell. They're going to lose half their team, and they're going to have to go with either Jameis or Taysom because they have no money.
let me say this about the Saints, too. What was the question mark last year? The quarterback position. Drew Brees. And I guess that's another topic coming up, too. Drew Brees held them back. Okay, he needs to retire. Drew Brees retires. Let's see what they got. Still have Sean Payton. Still have core players.
The Saints ain't got it.
I just don't think Tampa's just going to walk through the NFC.
The Saints have been blowing playoff games for at least the past 5 years. Every year, you're like, oh, they're going to get it this year. Oh, they the best team over there this year. They blow it every time. Why would you still have faith in them?
I don't have faith in them to win a Super Bowl.
Their window is closed.
They're a contender.
Their window is closed.
I think they're a contender, man. With Kamara and Michael Thomas, I know he had some injuries going on. That's why he didn't show up in the playoffs, according to him.
Yeah, the names sound cute. Where are the wins?
I'm just saying, when Brees was out, that was a team that was still effective. They were still winning games. So
Just because they're better without him.
If they
can't win in the playoffs.
If they clean up some things with Jameis Winston, or maybe they trade up, get some competent quarterback play, they're going to be a factor. I
guess I was about to ask a rhetorical question and say, what has Jameis Winston ever done in the playoffs? He ain't never made the playoffs.
It's the first time for everything, Feez.
He had the same roster Tom Brady took over.
I know.
And couldn't even make the playoffs.
I'm with you on that one.
We're not even saying, oh, yeah, he took them there and they lost the wild card game. He couldn't even make the playoffs. They were 7-9.
I got to defend Jameis, though. Still a young guy. It's a new system. That running game's going to be on point.
I'm not saying Jameis sucks. What I'm saying is Jameis ain't about to take the Saints to no damn Super Bowl. Ain't happening.
He had eye surgery, man.
There you go. Okay. There you go, too. I almost forgot about that. Eye surgery. Matt, you can see now. Come on. These guys, guys got excuses. That's kind of an injury, right?
Yeah, he had eye surgery, and he was so good that Taysom Hill started all the games that Drew Brees was out.
I don't know what that was about. I don't, but he was the second African-American to throw for 5,000 passing yards. Gotta give him that.
He threw for a lot of yards. He threw for a lot of picks, too, and the team didn't win. I mean, Dak threw for, one tick under 5,000, and they went 8-8.
Wait a minute, too. And if Dak is back, I almost forgot about the Cowboys. Thank you for reminding me. When Dak gets his money, the Cowboys are going to be a factor. The Cowboys' offense was looking great before Dak got injured, unfortunately. They were looking great. They got weapons.
They're on the docket, too. So since we're on that, the Dallas Cowboys, we don't talk about America's team much, but they made the roster today. The Dallas Cowboys released a hype video for the 2021 season, and it did not include Dak Prescott. The team actually came out and reportedly said that this was an oversight, which I believe is total and complete bull. So is this hype video really telling of Dallas's intentions?
I think, first of all, I just want to say it was disrespectful. And Dallas has been disrespectful the whole process. They've been Dak should have been got his money. Is Dak worth $40 million? No. But in this market,
nope.
With the Cowboys, maybe so. Maybe so. The way the league is going, maybe so. He need to get his money. He should have been signed a deal. You saw how bad that offense was, Feez, when he was out the lineup. All these weapons, they were looking good. They were looking at one of the best offenses in the league with him there. He was one of the better quarterbacks.
All that says is Andy Dalton ain't that good. That doesn't say that Dak deserves $40 million.
But what happened when Dak was out of that situation? To me, he earned his money not playing. Because we saw how bad that team was. If Dak Prescott was the quarterback the whole year and didn't get hurt, they would have been in the playoffs. 100%. They would have been in the playoffs.
That's not saying much.
They would have been in the playoffs. Playoff berth, they would have won the division, maybe a playoff game. The
football team was well below 500 and they made the playoffs.
No, this team would have won 10 games. 10 games if Dak Prescott was still the starting quarterback.
They only won 8 last year. How can you just project them out all of a sudden to be that much better?
Because Dak Prescott was taking that next step. You saw how effective that offense was. They just weren't playing any defense.
That's all conjecture. He hasn't done it.
They wouldn't have won the Super Bowl. I agree, because the defense was so bad. He was getting no help. But you saw Dak Prescott step up as a leader, going blow for blow with all these teams, throwing all the passing yards, throwing touchdowns, making the right reads, not turning the ball over.
He did all of that, but they only went 8-8.
That is true.
You got to win.
Defense. That was defense.
You got to win.
He does have to win. I'm not saying he's a winner. I'm just saying it was trending. He's still a young guy.
I'm not even saying he had to win a Super Bowl. They didn't win enough.
But before he went out, Feez, they were trending towards going to the playoffs. Even Elliott took a step back. Now he doesn't look like he can run anymore. Now people are talking about his future. Even though I'm proud of him, he got his money early. Thank the Lord he got his money. But I think you're going to see his career turn around once Dak Prescott comes back next year. Now they're balanced.
They offered Dak a contract, and he declined it because he wanted it to be shorter.
What was the number on that contract in the years?
I believe it was $35 per year for 5 years. He wanted 4 years. He wanted to cut it shorter and keep the same total contract because he felt like he was worth more money. And they let him go ahead, and then they franchised him. So he bet on himself, and he crapped out. He should have signed the contract.
Dak is still going to get big money. The Cowboys are going to negotiate with Dak Prescott. I think Jerry Jones, that's his guy. But the video was disrespectful. For Dak not being in the video was disrespectful. I didn't like it at all.
It's not disrespectful because he doesn't play for the Cowboys. He is a free agent. He doesn't have a contract, and they're not re-signing him. That's why he's not in the video.
He is the Cowboys, and they need to re-sign him ASAP.
He don't even play there anymore. That's why he's not in the video.
I'm saying this.
He ain't got no contract.
The quarterback market is crazy, right? Do I think any of these guys, for the most part, if you didn't win a Super Bowl, deserve $30+ million? No, I don't think so. But since we're in this market anyways, and we're talking about the Cowboys every single week anyways, and Dak was balling out,
they tried to give him 30+.
$39 to $40 million a year is appropriate.
Absolutely
It is appropriate.
They can just franchise him for that. He'll get 38. He's got one more year that they can franchise him. He'll get 38.
Let's do that. I'll take that, but I think
they're not going to do it because they don't know if he's healthy.
They could take this. They could take this situation slow with Dak Prescott. He's a young player. If he needs the first 3 games of the year not to play, from everything I'm hearing, is the situation's going well with the surgeries.
He can't wait the first 3 games of the season for a contract to happen.
They need to make this
money-wise, that's not possible. They either have to franchise him or give him a new deal.
But Feez, this is what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to say this. From everything we're hearing is that the surgery went well, that there's progress in these contract talks. So that makes me think, and Jerry Jones, I think he's sold on Dak Prescott because he's like, dang, look what Andy Dalton did with my team. What's the alternative?
Well, this sounds familiar. You know what it sounds familiar to?
What?
There was one black quarterback in the South, in the state of North Carolina. I think his name is Cam Newton, who was progressing well. All the surgeries and the recovery and the rehab was like, oh, it's looking good. They're probably going to re-sign him. And he had to sign a reclamation project prove-it contract with New England for $1 million to prove that he was healthy enough to earn a big contract. Dak Prescott is about to be in the exact same predicament as Cam Newton was last year. Wherever he goes, he's not getting any money because he's not healthy, and no one is going to pay you $35, $40+ million a year, and they don't even know if you can play.
Carson Wentz, it happened with Carson Wentz. He got his money. He's not as good as Dak Prescott.
Philly is stupid.
He's not as good as Dak Prescott, though. And Cam isn't as good as Dak Prescott right now. Cam is at the back end of his career. He might be done.
Coming out of that situation, Cam was in the same position as Dak Prescott is in right now.
But here's the thing with Cam. That makes a difference. Cam got blindsided by Matt Rule and that organization. Matt Rule's like, you know what, I'm going to bring my own guy in, which is Bridgewater, and I guess that kind of failed. They did have a lot of injuries, and I don't know what the future looks like for him. They talk about getting a quarterback. I don't know, but it's a little inconsistent over there. But Dallas
Carolina got a new coach, and then they brought it up. Didn't Dallas get a new coach? Yeah, Mike McCarthy. He's going to bring in who he wants and move on from Dak.
But he was sold on Dak Prescott beforehand. Dak was playing at a high level. It was the defense that was just terrible, one of the worst in the league. So when I look at Dak, he is still in his prime. We're not talking about an old player like Cam. Cam Newton's on the back end of his career.
Isn't the only game Dak won before he got hurt this season the one that the Falcons gave him?
He was leading the league in passing yards. Got to give him that. He was throwing the ball all over the place. CeeDee Lamb was having a great year. Amari Cooper's having a great year. Elliott was running pretty well. I'm just saying, like, the whole offense just fell apart. They went from one of the best offenses in the league, firing on all cylinders, to doing absolutely nothing on a daily basis. They were the Jets last year on offense.
You keep calling them the best offenses in the league because
they were scoring touchdowns. They were putting up numbers. I don't have the exact points per game, but they were up there. The yards, they were up there.
Yeah, just in yards. You're not scoring and you're not winning. That's not a best offense in the league.
Dak Prescott's a top 10 quarterback, maybe even top 8 quarterback when healthy. That's where it's trending towards. I didn't believe it at first, but just watching him play, he's getting better and better. Is the team overall getting better? No, they're going to have to draft well. They're going to have to get some guys up front. They're going to have to cover some guys. But this isn't an offensive Dak problem. This is Dallas not giving him his contract he wanted. It's a quarterback market. Go get him. What is the alternative? Are they going to draft a quarterback?
Dallas feels like there are multiple quarterbacks who could be just as successful as probably more successful than what Dak has been in the win column, given all of those weapons on offense. Dak has never played without a plethora of weapons.
But here's the thing.
He's got wide receivers, running backs, line is good. Everything is set up pristine. He's been in a great situation, and they're not winning. Just because you're putting up numbers doesn't mean your offense is that good. That means your quarterback is coming up short somewhere.
And here's my thing, too. It might be a Cowboys organization problem because they try to undermine him by bringing in Andy Dalton. And you saw how that worked out for them. They thought Andy Dalton was going to be competent and make all the right decisions. They thought he still had some juice. That was a just-in-case move, and it didn't work out. So, to me, his value just went up.
There's no way you're going to tell me that you didn't think that Andy would be able to at least manage that offense with all the weapons.
I thought he would do better. I didn't think he would do as good as Dak. But when Dak Prescott was behind a quarterback, he was stepping back. He was throwing the ball down the field, perfect passes. I was shocked because I wasn't a Dak Prescott guy. I was shocked how effective he was. I was like, yeah, I'm not saying he's a top 5 quarterback, but I would not be surprised in 2-3 years that's where he's at because he was just keep getting better and better and better. And I look at these other quarterbacks and they're getting big money, and it's like, are they worth it? I look at Carson Wentz all the time. They paid him. He had a lot of health issues.
And they're trying to get rid of him right now.
I guess we're going to talk about that.
They're trying to get off of him, so you can't keep using him as an excuse because Philly wants him gone. Dallas ain't going to spend that money on him, and no one else is either.
We're going to see. I think Dallas gets a deal done. They're going to do something with it.
Dallas ain't going to spend the money on him, and nobody else is going to actually blow their load spending money on Dak like that. Because every other team that could be a possibility for Dak to go to is going to look at their roster, be like, we don't have as good a wide receivers or running backs as what Dak was playing with, and he wasn't winning there.
So you don't think he's worth $20 million? You think he gets a Cam Newton deal, which I thought was still disrespectful?
He's hurt.
He
had a severe injury. He's going to have to take a bottom feeder contract for 1 year to prove that he can still do what he was doing.
But Dak Prescott is a younger player, and he's projected to come back from this injury. He's
projected. Has he ever won an MVP?
There's no evidence.
Has he won a league MVP? Did he take a team to a Super Bowl? Don't compare Dak to Cam Newton.
But what I'm saying is
that's disrespectful.
Cam has had a better career overall. I agree.
You cannot compare them two.
Right now, Dak Prescott is not. Dak Prescott right now is more valuable than Cam Newton is.
We don't know if Dak Prescott can run at all.
He's going to come back from this injury. He's more effective. He's better. I don't even know why we're comparing these two guys. Cam Newton might be done.
He's got to prove it. We didn't know what Cam was going to be able to do. He took a little contract so he could come back and prove it. Dak is going to have to do the same thing.
I'm telling you, he's going to be back with the Cowboys. That's all I got to say on that one.
Not happening. Man, before we move this thing on, we're going to take a quick break to let Mike Bell run through these sponsors. We're going to cool off just a little bit. Go ahead, take it away, Mike.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in tonight. Petty Sports Wednesday Night Edition brought to you by Kingz Broadcasting Studios. Could have been anywhere else in the world, but you're right here with the crew making it do what it do. We greatly appreciate your time, your effort, and energy. We see you in the chat room over there on Facebook. Dwight Banks, 808 on the beat, Jamila. Yeah, we see you checking in. Be sure to call in to that Petty Sports line at 678-871-9602. Call in. Man, I'm loving it. You should too. You know what I'm talking about? Hey, check us out on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Periscope, Twitch, all that good stuff right there, man. You know what I'm saying? Simple Radio app. absolutely free. You type in the Pulse 880 and you can hear us right there on the internet radio station. Take us with you in your car, wherever you might be going. You might be going on your jog or something tonight. You know, whatever you're doing, cleaning up, you can hear us, you know what I'm saying, without missing a beat. If you go to, what's the other one? Boxcast. Boxcast on your smart TV. Type in Boxcast. That's another absolutely free app. And you type in Kingz Broadcasting with a Z. You can watch us on the big screen right there at the crib. You know what I'm saying? Share it with the people, with your fam, your homeboys, your homegirls in the she shed, all that right there, man. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, without no you, there is no us. So we greatly appreciate y'all taking your time out, joining us tonight, every Wednesday night, 8 o'clock. Tune in. We'll be right here, like always, spitting big facts with famous Feez. And you know what I'm saying? Big Jansen and special guests. You know what I'm talking about? Lele couldn't make it tonight, but we'll see her next week. We hope she gets better. You know what I'm saying? She's a little under the weather. So y'all pray for her. You know what I mean? If you want to start your own podcast, get at kingsbroadcasting.com. Email us, and we'll get right back at you. You know what I'm saying? We'll make you famous over here, for real, for real. As you can see, we go to several different platforms. We got it all over here, man. So, you know what I'm saying? Just look us up. If you know a friend that want to do something like that with their own podcast, hey, make it happen, man. Put them in touch with us, and we can make it work. You know what I'm talking about? So go to Kingz Broadcasting, like I said, with a Z. Get your merch, your T-shirts, your mugs, your tumblers, all that good stuff. We got hoodies. We got something for everybody, man. So just check us out over there. Support black business, support black business, support black businesses, because we do ATL Ho. Now back to the regular scheduled program.
Yes, sir. Just looking here in the chat, a man Dwight Banks came through and said Tampa Bay brought in 4 all-pro position players on the offensive side of the ball, so it's not the same roster that Jameis was dealing with, even though out of his own funky mouth, he said that Tom Brady was washed up and wasn't going to do anything. Antonio Brown played 1 game in 2 years. Rob Gronkowski was retired, and everybody thought Leonard Fournette was washed. All of a sudden, they all came back, and they were the catalyst to smashing Kansas City in the Super Bowl. Don't be a hindsight warrior. You didn't believe any of that up until right now. Cut it out.
Man, can I answer to that too? Wow, yeah, you're pretty direct with that one. But you know, I just want to say that. I just want to say, well, Tom Brady, I think it's more of, we could talk about the all-pros and stuff like that, but I think people, they don't look at the classroom stuff. They don't look at the day-to-day, hey, man, it's going to be all right. I've been through this situation 2004, 2005, 2003, and this is coming from a guy who, I'm not the biggest Tom Brady fan, Jets fan, okay? I'm just saying, I don't think, if Tom Brady's not on this team, maybe they're a playoff team, maybe. I can't guarantee that. They smell like a 7-8, maybe 9-win team, but I think Tom Brady put them over the top. Leadership was a big thing, so I disagree with that take as well.
Absolutely. That was a lazy take. He's going to have to come harder than that.
Feez just the right hand, man. I just, you know what I'm saying? Feez was like...
Hey, I ain't here for it.
Feez like, I'm not playing tonight. It's too late for this.
Don't come for me in the chat. We're going to move this thing on to NBA. The NBA All-Star Game has been officially set for March the 7th right here in Atlanta, Georgia at State Farm Arena. They're saying there's going to be a mini bubble setting where they'll still have the All-Star Game, the three-point contest, and the slam dunk contest. Now, multiple NBA stars have spoken out against it, mainly LeBron James. Says he has zero energy for playing in an all-star game. He said he felt like it was a slap in the face that they were told that there wouldn't be one, and it would be a 5-day break for them to kind of just be able to recalibrate, and now all of a sudden it's going to be a game. And then we've also heard Kawhi Leonard and Giannis come out and agree with LeBron in his sentiment. And it sounds like we got a caller on the line. Caller, welcome to Petty Sports. State your name and where you calling from.
Listen, hey, man, this Banks. First and foremost, your rant about what I said was completely off base. Now, I like how you like to lead the people and say what you say. We made that statement when they announced Tom Brady was there. I did say, of course, I didn't think Tom was going to be able to make it. But secondly, you remember as I sat next to you, I said, if Tom Brady and them go up to Green Bay and beat Green Bay, they are my Super Bowl face. The comments I made about Tom Brady was before Gronk, before AB, before Fournette. So don't sit there and say they got the same roster and he couldn't make it to the playoffs. Be true about what you say. I know
You still being a hindsight warrior. You didn't see any of it. You said they'd be third in the division behind the Saints and the Falcons.
If you don't add AB, Fournette, and Gronk, that's probably where they would have been.
Man, that's
Nobody
a huge
saw them adding those pieces.
Even
It's a
after
huge
that.
to say you're going to land all those pieces.
When the season started, you still didn't have faith in them.
When the season
started, you still had no faith in them. You sat right here at this table.
Go back and
here at this table and said they wouldn't win.
When they got AB, I said AB is a game changer for them. When Gronk hit mid-season, I said Gronk is hitting his stride. You got to start to respect him. Nobody called that they would get Fournette, AB, Gronk, and hell, Shady McCoy don't even touch the field. Dude, come on now. Stay out the Brady weed now. Stay off the Brady weed.
Off the Brady weed. I'm just talking about you on all your inaccurate statements coming back after the fact, acting like, oh, they got all of this. I said you ain't said none of that.
First and foremost, what I said was when they brought Brady in there, they brought in 3 other All-Pro cats. You inject 3 other All-Pro cats in any offensive team with a defense like they had, you're going to have those results. Come on, dude.
You had none of this analysis when you sat at this table, man. Cut it out.
It wasn't there.
So that means you're admitting that you're being a hindsight warrior. Stop it.
No, what I'm admitting is the fact that the team changed over.
Now you're brother.
What you said was if I admit that, then you just admit that you said Jameis Winston had the same team, he couldn't make the playoffs. Admit you were wrong.
No, he had the same squad, exact same defense.
Shut up, come on,
all the offense
was
there.
Great show, man.
Can I ask a question?
Jansen, you're doing a good job. You got a clown next to you, but I'm gonna keep watching that.
Jansen got a question to ask you before you go too far.
What you got, Jansen?
Yeah, I got a question. We know Fournette was a big player at 16 carries to 89 yards and a touchdown score and the 4 receptions. How do you feel about his impact in the Super Bowl and how he was used?
What do you say? How do I feel about what? I can barely hear.
How Fournette was used in the Super Bowl. How do you feel about his performance and how they were able to use him?
I think he asked me how did I feel about Fournette the way he was used in the Super Bowl.
Yes, sir.
Yep.
Okay, they executed their game plan the way they needed to do it. They kept Tampa Bay's defense off balance with a mixture of the run and the pass. I think their fourth possession they came out, and they featured Fournette 3 times straight, back to back to back. Then they went with the passing game. Then if you did notice, they did a whole lot of off balance line formation in their running technique, and Tampa failed to pick up on that. So once they saw that, it was a guessing game at that point, and they had no way of stopping them. But I think they utilized him well.
Absolutely. Mr. Banks, I got one more question. Do you think this Tampa Bay team can repeat next season?
I think the only guy that's up for contract, I think, is Evans up for contract this year, or Godwin. I can't remember which one it is. And I think AB
Chris Godwin
on a
and
1-year
Shaq
deal. Okay. Whomever, if they can keep this team together with what they have on defense right now, they're going to be the odds-on favorite going into next season. It's just that I don't matter what it is. And now you add into the fact that they get a full off-season together, come back hopefully without COVID. We'll have a spring training next year. They'll be the odds-on favorite to win it all again.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it.
Father Time is undefeated, and Brady has proven everybody wrong that he still looks good. And he doesn't really show a whole lot of diminished skills that, people thought he would drop. But, I think they'll be the odds-on favorite to win it again.
Yeah, sounds like you was listening to the show earlier. Regurgitated everything I said about it.
Hey, man, listen, man. Y'all keep doing what y'all doing, man. Enjoying the show. And we'll holler at y'all boys later.
All right, no doubt. Appreciate you for calling in, DB. Smith.
Yes, sir.
we're going to take this thing back to the NBA. This is like we were saying, man. LeBron James, Kawhi Leonard, and Giannis. And I'm not even going to try to say his last name. I always mess that thing up.
Antetokounmpo.
Yeah, something like that. None of them agree with having an All-Star game this year. I mean, they say it's supposed to be a fan experience, and there won't be fans because it's going to be a little bubble thing. It's an exhibition game, and they want their break. I mean, you can't even be mad at them. LeBron was like, they only got 71 days in between finishing the finals, starting the next season. He wants his time. So, I mean, what do you think about that? Do you think they should actually have a game?
Yeah, I agree. Without the fan experience, I don't think they should have a game. What's the point of doing it? But if the revenue speaks loud, and that's what Silver's worried about, that's why he wants to have a game. But at the end of the day, when LeBron speaks against things, it usually doesn't happen. I'll be curious to see the other players' reaction if LeBron came out and said, well, I'm supporting the All-Star game, hypothetically speaking, what the other guys have came out and said, no, LeBron, we don't want to do that. Sometimes I think, obviously, LeBron, the face of the league, he is the NBA. He comes out and says something. Guys like to piggyback off of it. But I do agree. I don't think they should have an All-Star game.
No, I mean, I absolutely don't think they should. They're the only sports league that's actually still having their All-Star game. There was no Major League Baseball All-Star game. There was no NFL Pro Bowl. None of them are having All-Star games, and the NBA should follow suit. It's an exhibition game. It doesn't really have any meaning other than it's for the fans, and the fans can't go. It just doesn't make sense. Along with the players not wanting to play, and most of all, they moved the game from Indianapolis to right here in Atlanta.
That was a smart move, though.
We are full. We don't need you to come here. Don't come here for All-Star Weekend. Cancel the game. Don't come here. We don't need y'all. Everything is open. Don't come here. We're good. It's y'all from the outside. Everybody from all the surrounding states that are on full lockdown. You come out here acting a fool. Stay out of Atlanta. We don't need y'all here. We don't need a game. We don't need y'all to come. Cut the whole thing. It shouldn't happen. The city don't need it. So, man, it looks like we both in agreement that shouldn't be an All-Star game. Silver, do something about that. They're going to take that paycheck. They're going to have it. They shouldn't, though. So, man, just like you were talking about earlier, we're going to pivot right back into the NFL because I told y'all we got a lot of football to talk about. Drew Brees has elected to take a reduced salary from $25 million next season down to a veteran minimum of $1.075 for the 2021 season. Is this basically the first in however many steps it takes for this man to retire, or is he really trying to milk it out to play another year?
I think this is the first step for him retiring. He should retire. He looked awful against Tampa Bay. I don't think his confidence is there. I don't think the arm is there. I don't think the team believes in him. I think him and Sean Payton are going to have a serious conversation and sit down and say, hey, it's time to part ways. And I pray and I hope Drew Brees is like, yeah, I agree with you, because if not, he might have to go somewhere else, because there isn't any room for him to be the starter next year. This team is just not producing with him as a starting quarterback. They need to think, do we trade up in this draft and get our quarterback of the future? Because there is 4 quarterbacks who they're saying could be potentially stars in this league, depending on who you ask, which mock draft you like, or who you watched in college. It really just depends, because I'm hearing a lot of different things, and a lot of people are making great points. Do you do that? Do you make a trade for a quarterback? But any way we put it, they need to upgrade from Drew Brees. I think Drew Brees should just retire. You had a great career, man. So many years you've thrown for 5,000 passing yards. You defied the odds. We know you got hurt in San Diego, that nobody wanted you. And Culpepper at the time, they wanted him over you. Use that as motivation. You won your chip. You won your championship. Probably should have won more. But at the end of the day, you got the job done when you did. You're a Super Bowl MVP. Maybe a top 10 quarterback ever. It's there. There's nothing else for him to prove. I don't think he could play at even a top 15 level anymore. There's no evidence that he did last season. I think this is it for Drew Brees.
Oh, it's definitely it for Drew Brees. I mean, the folks that I know that are from New Orleans, they said that man's family is already packed up and left and went to L.A. And why it's significant to say that they left and holler at us and talk to us about the next season, because we know you ain't about to play anymore. He's about to be in the booth, commentating, doing his thing. I think this is just a formality to make sure that they can get his salary off the books before the league year starts over and they actually have to pay him all that money. I guess he's just, I don't know why he's waiting to retire, but he's going to retire. There's no way that dude's going to play again. All those broke ribs, he can't throw the ball more than 10 yards. Like, teams play him differently. I mean, I know he probably doesn't want to go out with his last game being that piss-poor performance against Tampa in the playoffs where he just was throwing pick after pick. But sometimes that's how it is. I mean, some of the greats, their careers end that way. Dan Marino's career ended like that. I mean, Peyton Manning did finish his career winning a Super Bowl, but it was not a flattering performance. It was pretty ugly.
Absolutely. And here's the thing about Drew Brees. In the back of his head, he knows how many times have we seen the Saints, and you mentioned it earlier in the show, Feez, where they had teams we thought would go to the Super Bowl or go farther than they did, and they get upset. It takes a lot. We don't talk about that because we look at Tom Brady, and then people, they think in their mind that, oh, well, somebody else is going to do this. It takes a lot, man, to make a deep playoff run and to continuously do these offseason, the OTAs, the training camp. You got to love it. And I don't think there's a fear factor anymore with Drew Brees. Defenses aren't scared of him. And he has to ask himself, too, how much more? How many more times are we going to see this New Orleans Saints team lose at home in the playoffs? And I don't think he has the juice anymore. Brees, I'm sorry. I like Drew Brees, too, by the way. I know this sounds very disheartening for you Drew Brees fans out there, but he had a good run. You could always hang your hat that he won a Super Bowl because he did. Had a whole bunch of stats, and he's one of the best ever to do it. So I want to show my respects to Drew Brees, but I hope, I'm praying on it personally that he retires. Please hang it up, Drew Brees, if you're listening. Please.
And if you could do us a favor and take Ben Roethlisberger with you.
He might need to go, too. Big Ben. I'm glad you brought that up.
Y'all can have a joint conference to announce y'all retirement. No, neither one of y'all need to play no more.
And can I just speak a little bit? I know we have to move forward, but about Big Ben, too. You've been alluding to it. I think you've handled things a little bit more too much in the media. Should I retire? Should I not? And it's made the Pittsburgh team a little bit emotional. Then you see him sitting on the bench basically saying, dude, I'm done. His head was kind of hanging low. Didn't look like the leader we saw in previous years. I think he's feeling like, wow, we just lost to the Browns. The day we see the Browns in the playoffs, I think that was going through his head, and then they beat us just the way they did. I think Big Ben needs to go as well, too.
Yeah, it's absolutely time. Both of them need to go. But because I can't stand Pittsburgh, I'd be cool with Big Ben staying. Go ahead and blow another year. I don't have any issues with the Saints. Drew needs to go ahead and retire. Pittsburgh, yeah, keep him. Be stupid. Just let him play. They already said they're going to restructure his contract, a more team-friendly deal. Like, yeah, keep him again then.
That's never a good sign, too. Anytime you see you're in talks with restructuring your deal, that's usually not a good thing unless you're Tom Brady, okay? So it kind of means you're done, and they're trying to nicely kick you out the door. That's like a nice way of doing it.
Oh, yeah, man. They're done, both of them. Ben is done. Drew is done. Y'all had a great run. I mean, hell, Ben won more Super Bowls than Drew.
Yeah,
it's time to go.
Yep.
It's absolutely time to go. So, man, I was going to go to a break. We're going to wait for one more segment before we do this thing. So I want to give y'all Feez Facts. On today's segment of Feez Facts, what I want to talk about is the QB myth that the quarterbacks of the 80s and the 90s would have all thrown for more yards and touchdowns than the current quarterbacks had the league been as pass happy as what it is right now. Because that is a common theme amongst all football pundits, that they throw the ball so much, the stats are inflated, and they didn't throw the ball like that back then. That's actually just straight bull. Y'all have very selective memories and think that because there were a lot of running backs doing their thing and the quarterbacks were getting beat up, that they weren't throwing the football. And why do I say that that's bull? Like, let me give you some facts and some numbers, because I know that's what you was waiting on. We're going to start with one, Dan Marino. For that man's career, he played in 242 games. 17 years he played in the NFL. he averaged 34 and a half pass attempts per game and amassed for his career 61,000 yards. So, no, we all thought that was like, yo, that was the best we've ever seen. Nobody can throw the ball like Dan Marino does. 61,000 is a lot. In 242 games, he did his thing. He was throwing 34 and a half balls a game. And then we saw this guy on the flip side named Peyton Manning. He played 266 games. So, what is that? 24 games more than Dan Marino? He threw 35.3 passes per game. That's less than one throw per football game that Peyton Manning attempted than Dan Marino. Just one pass. And we're saying that he's supposed to have been, if he had thrown the ball as much as him, then he would have thrown for more yards and more touchdowns. Because last time I checked, Peyton Manning has 10,000 more yards passing than Dan Marino in just 44 more games. Well, 24 more games. 24 more games, 10,000 yards. And this is with one attempt more per game. So, I mean, that doesn't really go along with the narrative at all. You look at Tom Brady, 35.4 attempts per game. That's 1/10 more per game than Peyton Manning. He's got 79,000 yards. He's played 300 games, which he's played more games than any of these guys because he's played more years. He's been 21 years in the league. Granted, he's only played 19 seasons, but in his 21, that's a lot of games. But he has more passing yards than any of the older guys. So we want to look at your boy Joe Cool, Joe Montana. 192 games played, 32.9 pass attempts per game. That's less than 3 attempts per game as the difference between Joe, Tom, and Peyton. He's 1.5 attempts less than Dan Marino, but he only threw for 40,000 yards in his whole career. He played 15 years. So, I mean, we're looking at this whole thing from a very biased perspective, saying that the older guys would have been killing it. They were throwing the football. John Elway was threw 31.4 balls per game. He played 234 games, threw for 51,000 yards. You know whose numbers are very comparable to his? Aaron Rodgers. He's in year 16, and we all know that he didn't play the first 3 years he was in the league. He's played 197 games to John Elway's 234. So, I mean, that is 37 games less that Aaron Rodgers played in his career so far than John Elway. He has 51,245 yards. He is 230 yards below John Elway for his career with 37 less games. And he's throwing 33.4 passes a game. 2 balls more per game for Aaron Rodgers than John Elway. And he already has the same amount of yards in 34 less games, in 37 less games. So this whole narrative is just ridiculous. The only quarterback that has all of these passing yards that actually was throwing in an insane clip is Drew Brees. Drew Brees is throwing 37 passes a game, and he has 80,000 yards. So, I mean, that one actually makes sense. But if you look at what they were actually doing, you're like, oh, well, the game was different. If you look at the most passing attempts that each of these quarterbacks had in a single season, the discrepancy ain't that big. Dan Marino's highest output season was 623. Tom Brady's a 637. I mean, we're talking about a full 16-game season. He threw 14 more passes for the whole year, and we're saying if they threw as much as the new guys? Nah, not really. John Elway's highest was 605. The Aaron Rodgers is 610. 5 more in a whole season, and he's already caught him in 37 less games. You look at, we'll take you for even another prolific passer of the 80s and 90s. Warren Moon, 33.6 pass attempts per game, played 208 games. 49,000 yards passing. He actually had more pass attempts per game than Aaron Rodgers with less total yards in more games. And his highest output season was 655 attempts, which is 45 more attempts than Aaron Rodgers has ever attempted in a season. So, I mean, for those of y'all who really feel that the only reason that the quarterbacks right now are throwing for more yards than the other quarterbacks of the 80s and 90s is because of the new pass-happy era, you're wrong. You're dead wrong. The numbers don't support it. It's a myth. So that is all for Feez Facts today. It's not true. What's that? We had the killer defensive backs back then play now. If they had to play now, they would probably get burnt because you're not allowed to hold and take people's heads off. You have to be a little more skilled in this day and age to cover a wide receiver because you can't really touch them outside of 5 yards. The game has gotten more difficult. If y'all have no more, we'll move this thing on. Do you have anything you want to add to that, Jansen, before we move?
Yeah, man, I hate to play the other side of it, but I got to, man. I mean, I just think it's easier in this day and age, man. The paces of the offense, again, you can't touch the receivers. Back in the day, man, you could pull, grab them. It was more of a tough guy game. The running game was featured more. You did make some valid points, but I don't think just passing yards makes you a better quarterback.
I think better. They said that if the older quarterbacks,
I think some of them. I think Dan Marino playing this day and age, his numbers would be better.
If they had played in this day, they would have thrown for way more yards.
Warren Moon and Dan Marino, I think so. Because Warren Moon, remember, he got screwed over. He played 6 years the Canadian Football League. So if he really got a real chance, that's when they really didn't want black quarterbacks really being featured in leading franchises, which that was a mistake because Warren Moon had some really, really productive years. He was one of the top quarterbacks in the league. He plays in this day and age with the type of rules now. There's a bunch of pass interference calls. You could grab guys down the field. It was more of a tough guy game, head-to-head hits. Now, guys, what's happening is receivers are catching the ball. Instead of bringing that big-time hit, they're easing up, so it's making it easier for them to catch the ball. So there is some truth to what you're saying, but a guy like Dan Marino in this era, he would put up Drew Brees-like numbers, maybe even better. Warren Moon's numbers would... First of all, if Warren Moon didn't have to go to the CFL, his numbers would be better. Combined with the CFL, I just did a piece on this, and the NFL, which I know you can't combine them. That's 70,000 right there. He was so dominant in CFL, people clearly dominant. They're like, yeah, we made a mistake, which was obvious. Even maybe Charlie Ward. Maybe Charlie Ward would have got an opportunity. Instead of having to go in the NBA, he won a Heisman Trophy in 93. Instead of going to the NBA, he could have played in the NFL. All these scenarios, but I'm just saying, I think a Warren Moon and Dan Marino in this day and age, they're capitalizing. They're throwing for 5,000 passing yards as well, too, I think. They could do that.
How many more pass attempts would they have actually gotten? What I just illustrated to you is the fact that they were throwing just as much back then as they are now.
True, and I agree with what you're saying.
What, are they going to throw 50 passes a game?
What I'm saying is it'll be easier in this day and age to throw down the field and get more yards because you can't hit how you could have hit back in the day. Back in the day, they made you pay for it. You go up the middle, you run one of them slants or a deep post, something like that. That safety could bring the hammer. Now the safety can't bring the hammer. You can't. It's a lot harder to cover. You're right. You have to be more skilled as a cornerback because you can't lay that hit on them. All this helmet to helmet. You can't grab the arm a little bit. You can't get rough with these guys. You can't get rough. The NFL, and let me say this about the NFL. It's really an NFL thing. The NFL, and I guess with the rules, they want to be safer. But I can see the old school point of view saying the game is a little soft. Taking the hits out of you.
That's not the point that we're at.
But also, two feet.
You're moving away from where we were actually at. We were saying the quarterbacks of the 80s and 90s, they claim, would have thrown for more yards if they passed the ball as much as they do now.
Feez, this is what I'm saying, too. Just imagine in the 80s and 90s, when Dan Marino was getting that rush up the middle from that linebacker or that defensive tackle, that D-end, when he throws the ball, he could get drove into the ground, and then you got to get up. You still kind of hurt, banged up, got to do it again. You put your hand on the knee, flag. Hit him right here, flag. So the quarterback is more protected, which means he could play better. So those pass attempts, you're right. We talk about the pass attempts, yes. but it's easier to be successful in this day and age as a quarterback. All the protection, the rules. So, I mean, you make a lot of valid points. I don't think all those old school guys are skilled enough to play in this day and age, but specifically Dan Marino and Warren Moon, I think, could do it. Montana wasn't really the type of guy with all the passing. It was more winning, more clutch, end-of-game type of thing, but he wasn't that gunslinger type of player. That's how I look at it.
These dudes would not have been throwing for any more yards than what we're seeing these guys.
Can you imagine Warren Moon in Atlanta? All he has to do is throw for 4,500 yards every year.
No, but I mean, that gets into a conversation of people's situations, and if you put this quarterback in this system, they could have thrown for more. I could do that with quarterbacks right now. How many quarterbacks right now could come to Atlanta and throw for 5,000 yards with all those weapons that Matt Ryan is not utilizing because he's scared to open the offense? That's not what the debate is. Given what their circumstances were in their teams, they were throwing the ball a lot. They were throwing the ball just as much as current quarterbacks are throwing, and it didn't put up the numbers that they're putting up. So to say that if they threw as much as they do currently, they would do more, that is a farce because they actually did throw as much as they are now. They just weren't getting the numbers.
Hey, for all the old heads out here, I'm defending on this one because I think they're playing that to consideration. The hits, man, the hits these quarterbacks take. You literally could take a guy's head off back in the day. You can't do that now. You can't hit the quarterback at all. You can't even really sack them. You can't even drive a quarterback into the ground. You push them. It could be a flag.
I think of the 8 quarterbacks that I listed, 4 old and 4 new, Aaron Rodgers is the only one who hasn't had a season-ending injury. All of them have been taken out. Tom Brady missed the whole 2008. Peyton Manning had multiple surgeries on his neck from all his hits. Drew Brees got beat up early in his career, and that's how he ended up in New Orleans. We all know Joe missed a year. Well, he basically missed 2 years. He missed one whole season and then didn't really play the next one either. John Elway got beat up. I don't know that Warren Moon didn't miss any years. I mean, Warren Moon and Aaron Rodgers are pretty much on the same track as far as them actually smoothly playing out their careers.
Yeah, Rodgers is better than Moon. I'm not going to act like Moon would have the same numbers as Aaron Rodgers.
I'm not comparing them to say who's better. All I'm saying is they would not have put up any more numbers than what these guys are.
I don't know. Dan Marino definitely would have. Especially, Sturdy Dan would have definitely put up some big numbers in this day and age.
Dan Marino
he wouldn't have got hit at all. He would have been healthy.
Dan Marino was throwing the ball at nearly the same clip as Drew Brees. So he would have been
hits, though.
He'd have been the same Drew Brees. Drew Brees, outside of when he got beat up in San Diego, when he made his way to New Orleans, he wasn't getting hit anymore.
What I'm saying is the rules matter a lot. That's why you see these running backs, they're not putting up numbers because everybody's so pass happy and stuff. The pace of the game changes. So it's just different. It's different eras. It's kind of hard to compare. I mean, you made some great points, but I just think that it's a lot harder for receivers to be successful when corners can grab you or you run up the middle and you know you're going to get hit hard, so you're thinking twice, the second thoughts in your head. If I'm a receiver in this day and age, I'm not scared to run across the middle for a pass anymore. What are you going to do? You're going to hit me? It's 15 yards. You're going to hit me hard, how you really want to hit me. Like with these guys are freak athletes now, how they really want to hit. They can hit a lot harder than they do.
Yeah, but you're taking it away from the point. We're not saying which era is tougher. We're simply comparing quarterbacks and their passing attempts to their yards for folks claiming that they throw the ball so much more now. For the great quarterbacks that we all agree that all 8 guys that I listed, 4 old, 4 new, are all great quarterbacks. They were throwing the ball just as much.
True. I just think it's harder to be successful back in the day as a quarterback. Now, they put you in positions.
I mean, Dan did it. Why couldn't they?
I mean, Dan was a little bit ahead of his time, if you ask me. Didn't win a Super Bowl, but I still have him in the top 5. I know you're not talking about how good these guys are. I just think when you get driven into the ground, play after play, maybe no major injuries, it's just different. I just think it's different. You're not as confident. But, hey, they still succeeded back in the day. And it's hard to compare. Maybe these guys come in this day and age and they're not reading coverage as well.
All right. See, I mean, I see a lot of folks chiming in the chats. We got Pimp Charisma. I don't even know who that is. I mean, I assume I know who that is because
PIMP, okay.
That's probably the same person that has 15 different accounts that always chimes in. So we'll just let you just do you. And, we've got Sour Grapes over there. It's all good. We're not worried about Charlie Ward. We're going to move it on along.
Wait, so I brought up Charlie Ward?
Huh?
Oh, they're talking about the Charlie Ward comment?
Uh-huh.
Oh, yeah. Shout out to Charlie Ward.
Yeah.
Go Knicks.
Hell no.
Hey, man.
So, man, what we looking like? We got about 25 minutes left. Yo, we going to let my man Mike Beasley take it away one last time before we go ahead and jump into these last couple of topics. We got quite a few more things to cover. Probably won't get all of it, but we're going to attack this thing. We're going to talk fast. So tune your ears in. Mike Beasley, take it away quick.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in to Petty Sports Wednesday Night Edition. All brought to you by Kingz Broadcasting Studios. You tuned in watching Famous Facts. Feez, brother Jansen on deck. Lele not here tonight. She's not feeling too well, but she'll be here next week. So thank you so much for tuning in. Go to kingsbroadcasting.com. Buy some merch, t-shirt, tumblers, mugs, hoodies, all that good stuff right there. Subscribe to the page on YouTube, Kingz with a Z, Kingz Broadcasting. Hit the notification bell so whenever we go hot, you'll be tuned in and notified whenever we come on. So thank you once again. Go to Facebook, do the same thing, like the page, and share with your friends. Share the show tonight. If you haven't, what you're waiting on, for everybody that has, thank you so much. And ATL, ho, back to the regular schedule program.
Yes, sir. Okay, there we go. I didn't think he wanted to listen to me no more. He cut my mic off. So check it out, man. We coming into the home stretch. My man Russell Wilson of the Seattle Seahawks is reportedly frustrated with the organization and the amount of hits that he's been taking. And they say teams have already actually been calling Seattle about Russ. So, I mean, if Seattle was to actually consider dealing Russ, where would be a good landing spot?
Wow. That's just hard to think. I don't think they're shopping him, man. I don't think they're shopping him. But what if Pittsburgh would probably be an appropriate spot for him? This won't happen, but San Francisco?
Oh, no way they trade him in division.
All right, how about the Colts? Championship team. And I'm shocked,
How
though,
are you
Feez.
calling them a championship team? They have a good roster.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They get Russ, championship team. Good roster, good receivers, decent coaching staff, maybe good coaching staff. But I don't think if you're San Francisco, you trade Russell Wilson. You're looking at a guy who's been to 2 Super Bowls, bona fide leader. I'm shocked by the comments he made in opening up. There has to be some frustration for him to even go in depth in conversations like that. I'm shocked. Because I looked at him as one of those guys, team first, didn't want to create drama, and he's coming out here with these comments. So I know the question was, where would be the best landing spot if they're going to shop him? I know teams obviously going to be calling, but I don't think they're going to shop him. I think the next couple of weeks you're going to see damage control because this is kind of big. You don't see Russell Wilson. This is a little bit out of character. I don't know what he has going on personally in his life, or I don't know if it's a him, Pete Carroll thing or the organization, but there's different ways to handle it. I don't think you should go to the media, but teams are going to call, but I don't think they're going to listen because Russell Wilson, he's won a championship for you guys. With this roster, add a couple pieces on defense and maybe some beef on that offensive line, obviously, after this frustration or in free agency. This could be a championship winning team. I can see Russ in a championship in the near future.
I mean, I don't see Seattle actually getting over the hump as currently constructed, and they don't really have the cap space with Russ's massive contract to bring in the offensive lineman that he wants. They got him weapons. He has people to throw the ball to. Their run game has been suspect for quite some time. Ever since Marshawn Lynch has been gone, they haven't had a running game. If they actually could get somebody behind center that could run the ball and put together an offensive line, then Seattle could be formidable. They do have a pretty decent defense. I mean, I won't say it's good or even great, but it's serviceable when they're actually playing well. I think of the places that he would really, really fit, I think you could swap him, especially because we're looking at contracts as well. You could swap him with Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers would flourish in Seattle. And I think Russell Wilson, he could do his thing in Green Bay.
Yeah, Aaron Jones is there.
They have a better offensive line, a better running game. He doesn't have as many weapons there, but when you have a running game, all of a sudden the secondary wide receivers and the other guys that you don't even know their names, all of a sudden Valdez-Scantling seems like, oh, I didn't know he was that good. Like, I think Russ could go into Green Bay with a different attitude than what Aaron Rodgers has presented out there and change up everything. Like, he could be the difference in the reason why Green Bay is able to go 13-3 for consecutive seasons and cannot get over the hump against certain teams every year, whether it be San Francisco or Tampa.
Can I ask you something, Feez? And this, with Russell Wilson, his contract, everybody is okay. These quarterbacks are so okay with taking all that money, but they got to realize, okay, if you're making all that money, we can't spend money there or spend money there or spend money there. Do you think he needs to look at himself as well before he starts kind of pointing the finger, well, the offensive line, this, and all that good stuff?
Oh, I mean, I think it's definitely twofold. Like, they haven't put together the offensive line or the run game that he needs, but they have spent money to get him weapons on the outside at receiver, but they don't have enough money to put the entire piece together. They've taken major hits on defense as well as the offensive line and not brought in running backs because Russ has all the money. It's like, hey, like, restructure your contract and they can bring in people.
Yeah, we'll see how flexible their GM could be, but even remember they made the trade for Jamal Adams. And Jamal Adams, he flies all over the field. He makes so many plays. I think at times with him, if you want to just point out a little bit of a flaw, is the coverage skills at times. I think he needs to be more of a playmaker in the cover game because that was one of the weaknesses the team had.
Well, he's one guy. Like,
True.
One guy can't change the entire defense. I mean, he can make an impact, but they got to get more. I mean, from what they were with the Legion of Boom to what that defense is right now is a far cry.
But that was before, remember that, like you said, that was before Wilson got that big old contract. He was okay with signing it then.
He got the contract.
Now it's an issue.
Everybody's gone, and now it's just you.
Yep, and these quarterbacks, man, they don't want to be held accountable. You got to be held accountable. You take all that money, you're going to take the blame that maybe shouldn't go on you, but you're the highest paid guy, so we're going to look at you. Figure it out. Yeah. And the general manager and Pete Carroll, they're going to have to be flexible with their spending. They're going to have to be aggressive in the draft, maybe trade down, get a couple offensive linemen, maybe in rounds 2 and 3. That's an option. But when you're paying a quarterback so much money, you have to be that flexible. That's just what it is.
Yeah.
And other teams, every team got flaws. You just got to overcome. I think Russell Wilson needs to put his head down and reevaluate his leadership skills, because you coming out in the media, you giving all this information. I was shocked. Feez, I was reading at your house. I was like, wow, this is real. This isn't one of those rumor things we see, like the Bleacher Report rumor. This is real.
Yeah.
So I'm disappointed overall, Russell Wilson. He should have handled it better. I thought he was a better leader than this. Hopefully we don't see more outbursts like this, but this is a slap in the face of the organization and Pete Carroll.
Oh, it absolutely is. I see we got one in here in the chat line say the Falcons. Yeah, that actually probably would be a really good landing spot for us. There's a lot of quarterbacks that could come into Atlanta if they were to get rid of Matt Ryan and put in someone of the stature of a Russell Wilson. Yeah, he would definitely be able to possibly get them over the hump. Definitely take them to the playoffs. I still don't know if he would make them good enough to beat this Tampa team. This Tampa Bay team is serious. I mean, I think they could give them a good game, but I still wouldn't pick them over Tampa Bay.
If they can get Fowler going,
make the playoffs.
If they can get Dante Fowler, shows up, he starts living up to that contract.
Yeah, that's a big if. We're just talking, he's fixing the offense. He can't fix the defense.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, man, staying with the quarterback controversies, the Philadelphia Eagles said they want a Matt Stafford package for Carson Wentz. A Matt Stafford package. Who should Philly be calling about even acquiring Wentz? I mean, what they should. Who's going for that?
I don't see, because I know a lot of people are saying the Bears and the Colts, but if I'm the Bears and the Colts, I'm thinking, is he worth this much? I'm confused about the whole situation. Didn't they get rid of Doug Peterson because of Carson Wentz? Isn't it that they wanted Carson Wentz to be the guy playing and not go to Jalen Hurts? I'm confused. What is going on in Philly? And now the Matthew Stafford package. I'm not giving up 2 first-round picks for Carson Wentz. He hasn't shown me anything since 2017 to even just think that. We talked about the turnovers. We talked about the interceptions. He makes bad decisions. Yes, the offensive line is terrible, but he makes bad decisions. When he's upright, he throws a lot of picks. Throw the ball away. Because, and here's what really exposed Carson Wentz. Really exposed him, because there was people who believe in this. All the injuries, and yes, it plays a factor. The offensive line is terrible. Yes, he gets hit too much. He gets sacked too much. Sacked the most out of any quarterback. But then when Jalen Hurts steps in, they bench him. Jalen Hurts instantly steps in, is making plays. That is not good. That tells me some of this has to go on you. They looked competent when Hurts was in the lineup. I'm not saying they'd be a great offense, but they were doing some things. All of a sudden, these no-name receivers that shouldn't even be getting playing time, they look okay. They're open.
I mean, how many instances do you need to see that Carson Wentz ain't that dude? In his best season, he got hurt. Nick Foles took over, won a Super Bowl. The next year, they were 6-7. He got hurt. Nick Foles took over, won out the rest of the season, went to the playoffs and won a game. And then you shipped out Nick Foles. You brought in Jalen Hurts. You benched Carson Wentz for Jalen after Carson went 3-8-1, had 16 touchdowns to 15 interceptions with a 72 QB rating, 57% completion percentage, all career lows just this season. And you're saying you want the Stafford package? You want 2 first-round picks for a guy who had his worst career season, and you benched him for a rookie?
And is that what they're doing in the emails? We want a Matthew Stafford package deal. Minimum. Capital minimum. That's crazy. They cocky. I'm curious.
Stupid.
I'm curious to see the next couple weeks how this develops. If the Colts, and I know the Colts are one of the major players in this, I wonder if Pittsburgh will step forward. Say, look, wait a minute. And they start thinking, when I I don't even think I'd give up 1 first-round pick for Carson. Probably a second and a third and a fourth.
No and.
To me, a third and a fourth. No and.
A third rounder. At best.
At best. So you're thinking a fourth. You really want to say fourth. You give him a little.
Yeah. Okay. A third would be generous.
Generous.
He's not that good. In addition to the fact that they say he's uncoachable.
That's bad. Uncoachable. That's not good.
Yeah.
I just want to know the thought. The Eagles are they're a mess. Because first, remember, they fired Peterson. Oh, he's the issue. They're not the reason why they won the Super Bowl. How dare they bench Carson Wentz? And now they're starting on Wentz. Now Wentz, I thought this is what Wentz wanted. I thought he was going to be the quarterback going into next year for the Eagles because he was making all that money. So I need some clarity with this situation with the Eagles. Is Jalen Hurts the guy?
Yeah, they're going with Jalen moving forward. I mean, Carson.
Did he demand? This is a demanded trade. Is this what it is? Is he just saying, I just want out, or the Eagles are fed up with it?
See, he didn't even suit up in week 17 because they started Jalen, so he was like, all right, I ain't playing. He didn't even come out there to be available as the backup. They said he ain't playing, he's not starting, so he didn't play.
Wow.
He's got a terrible attitude, had his worst career season. His backups are constantly taking over for him. He has to walk to that stadium every week and watch Doug Peterson and Nick Foles and their nice bronze statues in front of the stadium where he's getting all the money. He should have to pay for the statues. He didn't earn that.
That's why I don't know why he's so upset. They paid you. The Eagles organization has done everything they could to back Carson Wentz. They backed him. He got the contract. They bailed on Nick Foles. He played so bad. Doug Peterson had no choice but to put in Jalen Hurts. And then they got rid of Peterson for him. And then he's supposed to come back and be the starter next year because of all the money they committed towards him. I don't even see him getting traded. I think they hashed this up. Because who wants Carson Wentz at that price?
They're willing to take a $34 million cap hit to get rid of him.
That tells you how bad the situation has gotten.
So they need to scale all the way back with their asking price. If you're willing to take that kind of hit, that means you are absolutely done with him, and you know even more than what we can see. He ain't that guy.
I just want to see if the Colts make a move. They're in every possible trade for a veteran court. Are the Colts going to make a move?
The Colts can't be dumb enough to make a move for Carson.
They might just be better off drafting a quarterback or trading up in the draft.
The Colts might just wait for San Francisco to cut Jimmy.
That's a better option to me.
Way better than Carson.
Yeah.
Carson Wentz has proved nothing. So, man, before we get up out of here, we got 10 minutes left on this thing. We have quite a few more topics. We won't be able to get to all of them, but one thing that I definitely want to touch on before we get out of here that we cannot, absolutely not skip. The NFL inducted 8 members to the Hall of Fame last Saturday. It was a little controversial. We had Peyton Manning. No questions about that. We knew he was going to be a first ballot. Charles Woodson, absolutely first ballot. And subsequently, these two guys were in the 1998 Heisman Trophy race together. We had John Lynch, Alan Flanica, Flores, none other than Calvin Megatron Johnson. Now, I don't have any issues with Calvin Johnson making the Hall of Fame. He is definitely a Hall of Fame wide receiver. Great career. Where I have the issue is that he's first ballot. How in the hell is Calvin Johnson a first ballot Hall of Famer at the position of wide receiver and Terrell Owens was not? He had to wait till the second ballot, but Megatron didn't? I mean, let me just run the tape back. T.O. is 3rd in total yards, 3rd in touchdowns, 8th in receptions all time. And you made him go second ballot. 57.7% catch percentage. The dude played 219 games, went to a Super Bowl, would have been a Super Bowl MVP had his team actually won that game. And then we got Megatron. He's 47th all-time in receptions, 32nd in yards, and 23rd in touchdowns. But he went first ballot and T.O. didn't? It's like, come on, man. The whole committee needs to be fired. This is ridiculous.
Yeah, I think when we look at the T.O. thing, I'm not mad Calvin Johnson's first ballot. I'm just mad what the NFL did, which was disrespecting Terrell Owens. Terrell Owens, the first his name should popped up, he's a first ballot Hall of Famer. The fact that T.O. had to wait because of what people perceive as personality issues or he wasn't a great teammate, all this other stuff. These are NFL players. Now, all these guys are the spokesmen and politicians. A lot of these guys are jocks. A lot of these guys are probably bullies or they do this, they do that. It is what it is. It's football, man. You go out there, you perform. You don't have to be the best character person in the world. And who really knows all these guys' characters anyways? It's all perception. We don't know some of these guys. So I think T.O. just got the raw end of the deal. I know he was upset. He was frustrated that Calvin got in first ballot. But I blame the NFL for how they treated Terrell Owens. At least come out with an apology. That's what they need to do is apologize. That means something.
Every right to be upset that Calvin went in first ballot. The fact that T.O. didn't go first ballot means that no wide receiver should go first ballot. Other than Rice and Moss, none of the rest of them deserve to go first ballot.
I agree with that.
If T.O. ain't first ballot, none of them
That's
are.
why I said the NFL, they need to come out there. They need to issue an apology, a stern apology. I want a statement, a real statement. Maybe Roger Goodell do a little press conference, a little 5-10 minutes. Probably won't happen, but that's what they need to do. They need to apologize to T.O. because they tried to taint his career. They tried to exclude him from a club that he was made to be in. He was a born champion. Obviously, he didn't win a Super Bowl, but he's a born champion in the heart. He went out there, he played his behind off. You saw what he did in the Super Bowl. And that's what upsets me the most about the NFL, man. And that's why I made the piece on him before, too, is the guy played, he went out there for his teammates, and he was the best player on the Eagles that day. And to say he wasn't a good teammate just after what he did in that Super Bowl, not a lot of guys would have went out there and played. And then
he killed it.
Exactly. And then
Wait,
nobody
it was the
vouched for him.
Third time? I thought he got in the second time. That's even worse. Jesus.
And nobody even vouched for him, Feez, for him to get a contract after what he was doing, after what him and McNabb were able to accomplish. So Terrell Owens, he should be upset. The NFL is wrong yet again. They're wrong about a lot of things behind the curve.
Dead wrong. They're going to disrespect him again because Larry Fitzgerald is going to get in first ballot.
Oh, yeah,
And he's not better than T.O. either. It's ridiculous. He's played 1,000 seasons. That's why he's ended up passing him in some of the stat categories. Like, Fitzgerald almost has as many years under his belt as Rice. It's a shame, man. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. I mean, before we get out, we do have time to just touch on maybe one or two of these. We'll do it quickly. It's got about 3 minutes. They did pass out the NFL honors. Aaron Rodgers won another MVP award, 13-3 season, 48 touchdowns. He had an awesome year. I mean, I can't say that he didn't deserve it, but I also feel like Derrick Henry probably deserved it more as a running back going over 2,000 yards, especially seeing as how the season before that, everybody saw him run for 200-plus yards, or damn near 200 yards in every playoff game, and they knew that was the game plan, and he still went for 2,000-plus yards. I don't know. I would have liked to see Derrick Henry get that award.
I agree with you 100%, or at least a split. Here's my problem. It's a quarterback award. Let's just rename it a quarterback award, NFL. You got this wrong. Guy rushed for 2,000 yards in a pass-happy league, and he can't even get a split of the MVP. That's crazy. Yeah, he got the offensive player of the year, but it doesn't hold as much weight as the MVP. Aaron Rodgers was awesome, but it should have been a split. Just like, remember J.J. Watt, he had that huge year. Was it 2014? They gave it to Aaron Rodgers, which Rodgers was perfect too. It should have been a split then. You can't just look at the quarterback position, even though it is the most important position. It is the sexy position. But for Derrick Henry, this is past his time. Guys aren't supposed to be able to do this. He put the Titans on his back when he knew it was coming. 8 in the box. He was running guys over, throwing guys off of him.
Every week.
He had a perfect season. Kudos to Derrick Henry. You're the unofficial MVP, man. In my book. But it should have been a share at least to me.
I mean, I don't even think it should have been a share. I just think Derrick Henry should have gotten it.
Okay.
They just felt like they had to give it to A-Rod. I'm like, yo, Derrick Henry had a historic season, especially given all the circumstances. It was just him.
He got to get 2,500 to win it.
Right? Like, he has to go above and beyond.
200 yards a game. Wow.
Ridiculous. See, yo, man, I don't think we don't have enough time to hit another topic. See, I appreciate all of y'all for tuning in, all the callers, everybody in the petty line, on the chat line, in the chat rooms. Appreciate all y'all for tuning in, following us. Make sure you like, share, tell a friend. Everybody, tune in every week. Next Wednesday, we here, same time, Petty Sports. It's your boy, Famous Facts. Y'all know how to find me. Famous Feez, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, everywhere, YouTube. That's how you get in touch with your boy. That's how you follow me. Till next week. Always keep it petty.
Absolutely. Appreciate being on the show. Shout to Feez. Another great debate going at it. Shout out to Mr. Mike Bell. Gary, you did your thing as well, too. Thank you guys for having me in the studio. Studio is looking awesome. Love this microphone. Felt good coming out here tonight. Can't wait to be here next week. Jansen Harris, you guys hit me up everywhere. Hit me up in the inbox. We'll talk some sports. Just Good Network. Follow them everywhere. Everybody did a fantastic job. Thank you guys for inviting me on the show yet again. The production was great. And can't wait for next week, man.
Yeah! Yes, sir. Petty Sports. And we out.